Alright, so we've talked a lot about how this game is Zelda-like, but the Twilight Cathedral is the first point where it hammers it home and is like, no, this is a fucking Zelda game.
Cool. I note that we referred to it as a dungeon previously. Are there exactly 4 dungeons?
And right off the bat,
Nah, this is a puzzle, friend.
An elaborate crystal blade.
So, see, we found the one crystal blade, and now we come over here, and... well, if you look, we've got one that has a sword, and then this one over here doesn't.
Alright, well, Rip Master Sword then, you were great for about 30 seconds.
Oh, he doesn't even set it, he just, like, jumps right on that statue and slams that sword into place.
I mean, to be fair, this is war. Subtlety is probably not part of the description here.
Also, hooray, the bird survived. But also, yeah, that statue was very, very eager to retake her sword from that very brutish man.
Also, at the beginning of this video, we finished an anecdote with the phrase hammers home, and I'd like to congratulate everybody on their restraint.
I have no idea what the hell you're talking about.
Good, I'm definitely not talking about anything.
I was gonna say, I don't think anybody in this group has restraint, so...
Okay, that's a thing.
I'm a fan of the piano sting.
Ah, rude.
All these goddamn bats, and I'm just trying to admire the scenery.
Yeah, that usually happens to me whenever I go into a church to admire the scenery. A bunch of fucking bats come out of nowhere, try to eat me.
Like, enormous bats as well.
Like, bats at least as big as you are.
Yeah, although, honestly, I think that just might be a personal thing because I'm cursed by God, so, you know. To each their own.
Very relatable, TBQH. Seriously, what is with these sudden piano stings? This is very much an aesthetic change.
So hey, everybody likes combat rooms, right?
I mean, I like playing them.
I also see the Fucket of Ormaz has returned from Prince of Persia, among other things.
Good times. Good times. Something tells me that this game doesn't quite have the ridiculous 14-hit combo potential of that game, though.
I mean, it does keep track of your combo meter.
But anyways, Artix, the real question is, what god-awful music choice have you decided to put over this section?
Okay, so, like, I'm gonna be doing this for basically any room where the puzzle is literally kill a bunch of dudes. I'm just gonna speed straight through it. So, there's gonna be a lot. I'll probably find, like, a song and just liberally use it. Anyway, locked door, so we'll have to find a key.
Yep. Like, I don't know how much longer we can keep on harping on the Zelda angle, but it's definitely doing that. I get it, game. I understand the references that you are making in your design and mechanics.
So what if I told you that there were bomb flowers?
Why would you even bother telling me that?
Because they're here. Dee-dee-dee-dee-dee-dee-dee.
But yeah, I mean, that's a Zelda thing. You find bombs lying around in very particular spots, and then eventually you're going to start finding things that you can't bomb because there's no bomb flowers nearby, and, why do I even gonna bother finishing this anecdote?
Yeah, oh good lord, like, we literally went into Prince of Persia territory there with the wall running.
Oh yeah, this game's got platforming.
Yeah, War is an excessively mobile guy for how big he is.
Jesus.
And, like, the platforming is snappy and satisfyingly animated, so, you know, I can't judge it too harshly.
So just to briefly show off this little menu here, you'll notice that 2 of those consumable slots have the little circle around them. Those are our bottles. So we can get extra potions and stuff throughout the world, but those will disappear as soon as we use them.
Ha.
The bottles?
No. We keep the bottles. We can refill those infinitely. But
So you could just, like, get one-shot extra potions just lying around.
right, yeah, like right there, we just got basically a high potion. It'll refill all of our health.
But then when you go and buy from a shop, you can only fill up to your maximum of whatever. And presumably there's going to be things other than health potions.
Well, I mean, right now we can buy health potions, we can buy wrath potions, which refill our magic.
It's not magic, it's wrath. It's very important we clarify this.
Yeah, so this is the map. This is a pretty big place. 5 layers is that's a pretty sizable thing for considering it's the first dungeon.
Yeah. Starting off with a 5th floor. That's a bold decision.
One thing I will say is that this game, if I may briefly steal a bit of terminology from Mark Brown, you can kind of vaguely divide Zelda dungeons into the ones where you just kind of get dropped in and get told to figure it out, and the ones that kind of, there's really only ever one way to go and you just kind of have to follow the path. Darksiders in general is very much the latter kind.
Not exactly a puzzler then. Also, yeah, that's a feature. Does it swing? Tell me we can swing on this.
I don't think we're going to be swinging on that one.
That's a goddamn shame, honestly.
Priceless architecture? Not while war's here.
Also, I guess that little string bit was our equivalent of the Zelda secret theme, huh?
Yeah, that little ba-ba-ba-ba-ba thing. Yeah, that's the puzzle solved sound.
We gotta have one of those. I mean, I could say the Zelda-like spiel again, if you want.
No, I don't think anybody needs that.
Oh good, you can hit people with that while they're on the ground. That's good.
Yeah, the hitbox for the home run swing is pretty generous, all things considered.
Gotta have those wake-ups. See, this is what I mean about the snappy platforming. This is not what I mean about the snappy platforming.
I mean, to be fair, I was explicitly positioning myself to grab that artifact.
But yeah, like, I said this before, stuff is not a huge problem if it's only a problem for like a tiny amount of time. These things are, like, they're forgivable. People don't mind them. It's astonishing how much you can get away with doing if you only do it for a split second.
Yeah, like, it's taken a lot of cues from a lot of games, but, like, from what I've seen, it's taken those cues well. Like, there's nothing that, like, really overstays its welcome.
There's an art to cribbing.
Yeah, like, they have not fucked up anything that they've blatantly stolen from. Like, they've replicated it very faithfully in its own style, so... You know, I don't know, I guess imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, but,
I mean, not just imitation, but, like, good imitation. When they... Well, I mean, we'll see if this keeps up the whole way through the game, but... if when you imitate something really well, you don't just understand the things that it does, you also understand when and why it chooses to do those things, and when and why it chooses not to. Like, there's this stuff where you can say, oh, like, going on a sidetrack and getting a key to open a locked door is a thing that Zelda does. Therefore, let's make a game where you just see a bunch of weird side paths and you do nothing but go down them and get keys to find doors that you opened earlier. That would be dull as fuck. But you understand that that's only a thing that you do once every so often. You understand when it's appropriate to do that. You understand when you can use that as a technique to maybe find an excuse to have a player do a round trip of a big area so they can get a feel for the place before they have to come back and try to navigate through it under some condition. These are all things.
I don't know. I would have appreciated it a little bit if there was like a shortcut once you got the key back to the area where you're supposed to use it in.
Right. I was not talking about this game specifically, although we'll see if this game does in fact do that thing. But yes, that was it was a backtrack. I'm not going to go out and say that that was a great backtrack, because if it was, we probably would not have had to have sped it up so much.
So, this guy, the ice lizards, these guys are fucks.
Yeah, they look like they're fucks.
So, the gist of it is that these guys don't get stunned until you knock their armor off.
Yeah, you're knocking their armor off and they're gonna get... Wow, this reminds me a lot of a certain other large hulking armored enemy in an action video game whose armor you knock off one piece at a time. Am I being unfair?
I don't think it's unfair to point out that this game takes cues from basically every major action game as it is. But yeah, no, this guy is... I don't want to explicitly go out and say he's the Iron Knuckle, but you fight him a lot like one. Where you have to get your hits and then get out of the way because you're not going to stun him.
I mean, this is definitely the kind of game that would give you these guys early on. Like, Zelda wouldn't have done that early on. You'd have gone, like, 2 or 3 dungeons before you start seeing those guys in the Zelda. Like, that's kind of what I mean about you take the things that it does and you understand when it does them and you figure that, hey, this is a slightly different kind of game. So we're going to do these things at different times, but we're never going to do it at the wrong time. Hopefully. I mean, I am still completely blind on this thing.
Alright, so that's admittedly a puzzle that probably would have been found... someone who does not know the game, like I know the game, would have found that a lot earlier, because you would have gone that way, seen that the door was locked, and seen a statue with open hands, so... I just knew that way was locked, so I didn't even go that way.
Yeah. Foreknowledge is a thing. Yeah. At some point, I mean, I'm gonna have to save all this stuff for later, because I've only got so many of these anecdotes in me, but there is definitely an art to designing for people who are blind, and what happens when you neglect that. You should definitely pick up that sword.
I think we will, as a matter of fact.
Oh, you're not gonna show off the schmuck bait?
Oh, don't worry, you'll see the schmuck bait.
Nice.
Not in this video, but you will see it.
Oh, great, so I won't be here for it then. Oh boy, they're back.
Oh, yeah. Later on in this dungeon, we will have a much better way of dealing with the ice lizards, but right now, these guys are not fun to fight.
I'm not sure I get the whole sword key thing, though. It's like he picks up a sword, and then he proceeds to use it as a sword instead of his actual sword, but I don't understand the point.
I mean, it's still a sword. Why not?
why is the key a sword? Like, I don't understand why they did this thing where they replaced the sword that you already have with the sword that's a key, but absolutely nothing changes. There's no, like... There's nothing particularly notable about this weird sword that we've picked up other than the fact that it sets a flag that lets us press a button to open the lock. It's like, that's just weird.
So that little bombable rock in there is really easy to miss. But fortunately, War has literally the best fastball of all time, so...
I mean, I should hope so.
So basically what you're saying is the people who designed this game are secret baseball nerds like you are.
I mean, who do you think would be the baseball nerd? Pestilence? That guy does not seem like the type.
Probably Death. Death is definitely that kind of nerd.
I was gonna say, if you've been to a baseball game, Death would definitely be your primary choice.
No, Death strikes me more as like the scheming strategy type rather than the actually being physically good at stuff type.
I don't know, you haven't seen Death in Darksiders though, so maybe...
That is a fair observation. I mean, we haven't seen Famine or Pestilence though.
Anyway, this artifact is a little sneaky. It's a little more precise than it looks, but it's not too bad to grab.
Yeah, that looks like one of those things that's like, its design, or the placement of it is somewhat careless enough that it can come across looking like it's actually not possible. Good one on that. Yeah, this can happen in games sometimes where like it ends up seeming as though doing a certain thing actually isn't possible, even though it actually is, and you just have to kind of at it.
Well, I mean, that room is actually a good example of that, because as you can see, like that artifact is in range if you go at it for a little bit, but but we couldn't get across that gap. We just don't have nearly enough time on our shadow flight to reach it.
Yeah. A thing that I wish more games did more often and more consistently is like telegraphing when it's possible to do things. And like giving you a sense of when it's, if you're like an obsessive completionist, when it's safe to move on from a place. And sometimes that's obvious just from certain encounters, and sometimes it isn't, and like people worry about this stuff.
So this is the other side of that room, but
There it is.
Yep. Because those things were just the fucking best from Half-Life, remember them?
Yeah.
there is that bomb down there.
I don't know, this seems like literally and figuratively a long shot. I'll be damned.
I told you, War's got a hell of a throwing arm.
I don't know how I feel about this.
Fortunately, we cannot get up here fast enough to get in that door, so we'll have to come back to that later.
Like, I feel like that's just a little bit not obvious enough. I feel like that's something that you'd only really discover by getting real desperate and trying random stuff. And we just have a habit of breaking statues and ending up using that to make holes in the floor, don't we?
I mean, what else are you gonna do with a suspended statue head?
Right. And, you know, while we're on the topic, why is there a suspended statue head?
Yeah, like, it didn't look like it connected to anything on the ground. Like, there was no, like...
I didn't get a very good look at it, but, if you were to actually look around the main hall, the main statue in the back of the church, the head's busted off. That's where it came from.
Oh, there you go, yeah.
Ah, the lore is complete. There's yet even more reams of theory about making stuff in video games that actually kind of in any way resembles stuff, but this doesn't strike me as the game to be concerned with that. And this doesn't strike me as the kind of game about which it makes any goddamn sense to criticize it for.
This looks important.
Wow, it's got 3 faces. And it has a windmill shuriken in it. Or should I call it? No, I won't. But we're all thinking it.
This is the crossblade. This is literally the boomerang.
God, you didn't need to actually say it.
To be fair, it functions more similarly to, like, the Gale boomerang of Twilight Princess than it does the traditional boomerang. There's a couple nifty things you can do with it that the dungeon explores later.
Game design. But I'm guessing it's got the 5-target lock-on.
It has exactly a 5-target lock-on.
I had a feeling. I also have a feeling that we're going to have to use it to hit 5 distant switches in the correct sequence. Hey, that's a nice trick.
Yeah, so if you charge the crossblade before you throw it at somebody, it'll just sit there and kind of grind at them, continually doing damage. This is by far the best way to deal with, like, the ice lizards, because it lets you plink away at their armor without having to actually get up close and personal.
Tactics. I can dig it.
And then we have this guy.
This is, I mean, this guy might be about to ruin my whole mood here that I'm going for, but, like, this thing is exactly what I mean by saying, like, they've done a thing that's very obviously a Zelda crib that, like, immediately evokes a Zelda item, and everybody knows basically everything about how it works from the outset, but it's still different enough. It feels different. It has its own spin, literally and figuratively, on things. Like, they've taken a Zelda thing, and they've made it completely on brand. And frankly, I can respect the hell out of that.
So that guy will continually spew poison until you destroy him, after you take his head off. It's kind of cute.
I guess.
Anyway, see if you can figure out how to get out of the room.
Like, I gotta tell you, I have no idea. Like, I have absolutely nothing.
Alright, hang on. Maybe we better ask the Watcher. I think he might know.
Anyway, let's use the dungeon item that we just picked up to escape the room.